Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Clint Eastwood's $1 Million Baby in 2004. Here is the set. I've been going through some of these now, and reviewing them. This is another one I've not seen before, so I'm massively looking forward to this. And here it is, of course, in the actual set. It's the last one on disc, set 2, I think. And yeah, basically, this film, heard a lot of mixed things, about it. Over the years, basically, it tells the story of an kind of unappreciated, female boxer, of Mackie Fitzgerald, and she's played by Hilary Swank, and Clint Eastwood is Frankie Dunn. He basically, eventually is her trainer, and in boxing, and basically Morgan Freeman, the assistant as well, Eddie. And yeah, basically, this film, it starts off, Clint Eastwood basically refuses, to kind of train her up because she's a woman, basically, and you can kind of see exactly straight away where it's going. It's going to obviously try and say that women can do this as well, so which is great. And yeah, I think I was straight away invested in this film, and I think this film, of course, has been called overrated, over the years, and yeah, it got quite a lot of backlash. It won Best Picture. There you go. Another that's obviously the reason, maybe. But yeah, it's in the top 250 on IMDb. Very, very critically acclaimed. Roger Ebert would give it 4 out of 4. Say it's one of the best films of the year. And it just got massive, massive acclaim. And I'd never seen it. I'd never wanted to actually kind of find out any of the plot details or anything. I didn't want to spoil it. And I do that with a lot of films. I didn't even know anything about this film other than the cast. It's directed by Clint Eastwood, and it's very acclaimed, but has got some backlash over the years. And yes, I went into this. I watched it the other day actually. I wanted it to sit on me and see exactly what I'd give it. But yes, I went into it, and yes, is it overrated? Do I think it's overrated? No, absolutely not. Once again, Clint Eastwood directing one of the best films of all time for me. Now this film is considerably better than Pale Rider, Gran Torino, all these sort of ones. I don't think it's quite as good as Unforgiven, definitely not quite there. But this film made it into my top 150 of all time. I think it's an absolute masterpiece, and halfway through, maybe just a bit more over the halfway mark, takes a very, very dark turn. Really, really dark turn. I did not expect it, and wow, Clint Eastwood, I still think The Good, the Bad and the Ugly is, the best film he's involved in, by far. His best character, I think the most iconic, the most enjoyable character. Best performance in terms of how he just nails every move, just his stance, the dialogue, the way it's delivered with such ease, and just how much he's enjoyable in that film. But a lot of his more recent films over the last few decades, this is where he's given his most emotional performances. You could say, emotional films as well. And I've heard massive things about Mystic River as well, that he directed. Being really, really emotional. But this one, wow, definitely his most emotional performance, and that says a lot. This film, I did not quite believe it. Once I'd seen it, where it went, and how it kind of took a really, really dark turn. I'm not going to spoil anything, but yes, very, very emotional stuff, and it does have its hopeful moments throughout this film, but the second half, just over that, is very, very dark. It's some of the most moving stuff I've ever seen, but it's not depressing. Very, very hopeful, and very, very human. That's the thing. It is a human film throughout, and early on, basically, Clint Eastwood's character, Frankie, he's hesitant, and we've got this kind of dynamic that goes on between, the characters. Morgan Freeman, as Eddie, basically keeps. He's kind of he's kind of the guy that wants to train her up first. Clint Eastwood is just refusing, his character, and you've got a really, really compelling kind of struggle there. And she's trying to prove herself. Used for comedy, but also kind of. You root for her, and she's one of the nicest characters I've seen in a film actually. She's just is really, really caring and everything. So straight away warm to her. Hilary Swank. The only real one of the only other films I've seen her in as the next Karate Kid. I didn't like the film. Nothing wrong with really her performance too much, but the film, I didn't actually get through it. I loved the Karate Kid, the first one. But yeah, no, that's all I've seen her in. But this film, she gives a masterful performance. As Maggie Fitzgerald. Wow, especially again the second half of the film. This film is shocking. It really is, and I just didn't expect certain things to happen. But basically, yeah, I think Eastwood produced this film, he directed it, and he scored the film. Once again, he done the Unforgiven, some of the score there, and that's one of the greatest of all time. The film and the music. In this, it's very, very much more subtle. The music, but absolutely wonderful, and it really, when it's used in the emotional scenes, really, really undescribable, emotions that I felt, and I think as well, Baruchel is in the film. Not usually a fan of him, too much. He's usually in, a lot of Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg sort of stuff. All the kind of guys, and yeah, he's usually in a lot of stuff like that, and some of that's like a couple of films from that sort of set of films are decent, they're good. I think This Is the End is pretty good, but usually I'm not a fan of him. But even in this film, he's good. He's really good actually. His character, I really loved what they done with him. Maybe one or two moments where he's a bit, a bit too much, but it didn't take away from the film. But it was great comedy early on. Clint Eastwood tries to give loads and loads of comedy. It's very, very, you could say it's quite light-hearted. And then when things do take a turn, it's very, very not abrupt, but it really shocks you even more. And things are very, very light-hearted. And then when things take the dark turn, it's very, very powerful. But he's one of the characters, side characters. You've got quite a lot of famous actors in this film. Morgan Freeman, of course, once again teaming up with Eastwood, and once again their relationship, their dynamic chemistry. It's just so enjoyable to watch. It adds so much to the film. Just such a warm film as well. That's what I was feeling. The heart of this film is wonderful. As well, this kind of Eastwood tried to, of course, portray the kind of the side to boxing where the heart and the respect of it all, of the craft, not just the fights themselves, and yeah, I think this shines through perfectly, and the whole heart to the film is just staggering. He really poured everything into this film, and it's such a spiritual film, especially towards the end. But yes, the fight scenes, in this, wonderfully choreographed. I think there's an intensity to this film. The fight scenes, you feel every punch. Wow. It's absolutely stunning. Now this film, I think it's the third best boxing film of all time, actually. And the fight scene's not quite as good as say Rocky. Certainly not Raging Bull. But apart from that, this one takes the cake. It is absolutely stunning. The way these films scenes are shot, and cinematography across the board. Once again, Eastwood. He kind of very minimalist, at times with his directing style, but so effective. It's a simplicity to it, and just all the cutting. The editing in general is just wonderful, and the cinematography, it is stunning. There's some beautiful shots, but also within the fight scenes, there's an intensity to it, and he captures that perfectly. It feels very gritty, especially in the boxing, the training room sequences, and the gym and stuff. And in the ring as well, it's got this wonderful lighting, but it is very, very gritty, this film, the way it's shot. And, of course, a very, very hard-hitting story. I didn't know anything about this, as I say, so it was very, very, moving for me as well. In fact, I didn't expect anything, and then when it did happen, I was floored, I think all the characters in this film are great, really. You've also got some drama with the character of Maggie, played by Hilary, and her parents, well, her mother, and the rest of her family, and she basically tries to get them a house and all this kind of stuff when she got the money. And yes, that's very, very powerful as well. Basically showing again how much of a kind of generous character she is, but no one really respects her a lot of the time. And it's just such a powerful story. The way this film is told, really, it's just an absolutely wonderful film. Really speaks to the soul. And it's thoroughly compelling, complex throughout the entire film. I was straight away, kind of hooked on this film, and I just let it unfold, kind of in front of me, and it really went to places I didn't think it would have went, and wow, this film, to call this film bad, to call it an awful film, I don't ever get. I think it's an absolute masterpiece. This film is stunning in every way. The performances, absolutely mind blowing in this film, and just the craft. Wow, his directing style, of course, minimalist, but just so effective, and wonderfully capturing the emotions of these performances, and of course the intensity to the actual fight scenes, and just absolutely a mind-blowing film, really is. And the script is wonderful as well. The meaningful dialogue is just wow. Again, especially in the last sort of third of the film, I was moved to tears. This film really, it was absolutely masterful. Really, no flaws from me, and just the way this film elevates, and the way that Eastwood tells us with such heart and passion. The performances, wow. I really didn't expect the performances to be this good, this emotional, and even Morgan Freeman, very, very likable, kind of peaceful, and just his reaction to certain things in the film is just so, wow, it's just so good. All the characters are great, as I say. The kind of structure of the film is not that typical. It really isn't, and of course this is the rise of this boxer. But yes, I'm not gonna talk any more about that. I'm not going to get into the plot, but this is really, really an unexpected film. Although it's got kind of beginning, middle, and end in the same sort of ways, but it really is a very, very shocking film at times. Very, very dark and daring. The way yes, it's very, very daring to kind of have a film play out like this. It's just really, really so much so, and I just think this film is absolutely flawless. The way it moved me, to tears. It's such a powerful film, an inspirational film, and there's a quote, right near the end of the film, which it's just a wonderful quote. One of my favourites that I've seen, in a film actually. This film is absolutely masterful, and for sure, definitely not an overrated film. So overall, I think this film is an easy full mark film. It's well into that. And it's beyond. I think really didn't expect to give it this, but it's above my 100% plus tier 3, and it's actually made it into, for the way it moved me, the way I kind of was entertained, enthralled by these performances, the characters, how inspirational this film was, how epic it was, in scope, and also very, very dark and moving and human. I'd have to give it 100% plus tier 2. Now that is reserved for some real remarkable films that mean so much to me. Even the tier 3s are, but this, of course, this is a special film, truly special film. And I did not expect it to be this good. And I don't get it when a film, we'll not get into it too much, but wins Best Picture, and then it receives a lot of hate. Even if sometimes people haven't even seen the film. I've experienced that. People talking to me. People just really not just if they don't agree with it. That they say it's a bad film. I think this is just a wonderful film. It's really just so well directed. Cinematography, the editing, perfection. But it's the characters, the performances, and just how spiritual, moving this film is. That just easily one of my favourite films of all time. Despite it being very, very dark in places, it's not wholly depressing at all. Really. Sometimes in cinema, going to the darkest edges, it's kind of required to get, the kind of to see the light, more clearly. And example, Schindler's List, that does that better than pretty much anything. But yes, this film, it does that. It really goes to dark places. But it really means so much more, and it is very, very uplifting at times. You know, it's an epic film. You know, you get, you know, I rooted for this character Maggie. Hilary Swank, you know, gives a performance that is just absolutely top notch. She was incredible in this film. You know, absolutely wonderful. Blew me away, her performance. How likable she was. You know, but how kind of determined she was. You'd think she's an actual you know, boxer. You know, she's just so good in this film. The fight scenes, you know, they're masterfully you know, staged, choreographed. There's an intensity, you know, to this film, the way they're shot. The editing, of course, plays a hand in that, and I just loved, you know, especially this, you know, trio of characters played by Morgan Freeman, Clint Eastwood, Hilary Swank, wonderfully. You know, I think perfect performances. Even Jay Baruchel, who I'm not usually, you know, respectfully a fan of, was really good in this film. You know, I loved the ending. You know, despite the final act being very dark, you know, it is a kind of, it's a bit more of a hopeful ending. But yes, you know, this film, if you've not seen it and you've not heard anything about it, you know, be prepared. It is very, 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 very powerful film. You know, it will, well, I don't know, but yes, it certainly moved me. And, you know, I think, is it overrated? Absolutely not. You know, I think this is one of the greatest films of all time. Rightfully so. You know, I wouldn't say it's the best film of 2004, but, you know, that film that I think is the best would certainly, well, two of them films actually would not have won Best Picture anyway, so that's out of the equation, you know. But yes, this film, you know, certainly deserved the awards it got, absolutely. The critical acclaim, you know, it just, it's loved by critics, you know, and even, you know, fans as well. IMDb, you know, it has some backlash, but for me, personally, I agree with the fact that it is an absolutely staggering film, one of the best, you know, and it's into my top 150. It's that good, you know. I think this film moved me. It truly moved me. It elevated me. Spiritual film. You know, love the characters. The Clint Eastwood dry humour back again. You know, as always when he's in a film. I just love, you know, Clint Eastwood. You know, when he's acting, he's so good. You know, there's a particular dry humour that he brings that really I've never seen. You know, in this particular way. And you know, the pairing with Morgan Freeman. You know, and the kind of the banter at the beginning. You know, and then when she rises to power, you know, the epic kind of feel that this film has, all the music and everything, it's just a perfect film that really just elevates beyond a normal masterpiece. Tier 2, absolutely love this film. Wow, it really, really moved me to tears. And would I recommend it? Absolutely. See this film if you've not seen it, and tell me in the comments what you think if you have seen it. And I absolutely love this film. Cannot say much more. You know, this set is essential as well. You know, already. You know, of course. I've seen yes, 2 films from here. Yeah, kind of just completely blew me away. I didn't see Pale Rider in the set, you know, but I did see, of course, $1 Million Baby, and what a way to kind of start properly delving into this set with an absolute masterpiece. And yeah, thanks for watching my review of Clint Eastwood's $1 Million Baby.